The Mockery. The galactic trade hub Epsilon floated in the neutral zone between three major star systems. Ships from 100 different worlds gathered here, their designs reflecting the unique philosophies of their creators. Sleek Quellian vessels darted between massive Torgan freighters while crystalline Viridian scouts hummed with barely contained energy. Captain Marcus Vale stood on the command deck of the UES Leviathan, watching the organized chaos through reinforced viewports. His weathered hands gripped the rail as he observed the alien vessels moving with their characteristic grace. The Leviathan sat among them like a steel mountain among butterflies. Where other ships curved and flowed, the human vessel was all hard angles and thick armor. Gun ports lined its hull like the scales of some ancient beast. His first officer, Commander Rita Zhao, approached with a datapad. "Captain, we've been assigned to the convoy heading to the Kellamar mining colonies. Departure in 4 hours." Vale nodded, his gray eyes never leaving the viewport. 20 years in space had taught him to read the subtle movements of ships the way a sailor reads the sea. Something felt different today. The alien vessels moved with more urgency than usual. The communication panel chirped. "Captain Vale, this is Commodore Threx of the Quellian Navy. Please report to Conference Room 7 for the convoy briefing." Vale and Zhao made their way through Epsilon's corridors. The station's architecture favored the aesthetics of its builders, the energy-based luminaire. Everything glowed with soft light, and the walls seemed to pulse with life. They passed groups of various species, many of whom gave the humans curious or dismissive glances. Conference Room 7 was already crowded when they arrived. 3 alien commanders stood around a holographic display showing the route to Kellamar. Commodore Threx, a tall being with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water, turned as they entered. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Vale had learned indicated mild annoyance. "Ah, the humans have arrived," Threx said, his translated voice carrying undertones of condescension. "I was just explaining our convoy formation to Commanders Yatari and Desrock." Commander Yatari of the Viridian ship Starweaver floated slightly above the ground, her crystalline form refracting the room's light into rainbow patterns. "We were discussing optimal speed configurations. My vessel can maintain quantum slip for 12 standard hours." Desrock, a heavily armored Torgan whose species resembled Earth's rhinoceroses if they had evolved to be bipedal and technologically advanced, rumbled his agreement. "The Thunderclaw can match that pace. We should reach Kellamar in 36 hours at maximum burn." Vale studied the route map. "The Leviathan's maximum sustainable speed is significantly lower. We'll need 48 hours minimum." The room fell silent. Yatari's form flickered, her species equivalent of laughter. 48 hours? Your vessel still uses reaction drives?" "Fusion drives with antimatter boost capability," Zhao replied evenly. "Reliable and maintainable in deep space." Threx's skin shifted to a purple hue that Vale recognized as amusement. "How quaint. Tell me, Captain, does your ship still use chemical explosives for weapons as well?" "Kinetic weapons primarily," Vale said. "Railguns, mass drivers, and tactical nuclear warheads." This time, all 3 alien commanders made their species equivalent of laughter. Desrock's massive frame shook. "Nuclear warheads. My grandfather told stories of when the Torgan fleet still used such primitive weapons. That was 800 years ago." "The Starweaver's plasma matrices can destabilize matter at the subatomic level," Yatari added, her tone becoming lecturing. "Your projectiles would simply cease to exist before reaching any modern vessel." Threx moved to the holographic display, manipulating it to show the convoy formation. "Perhaps it would be best if the Leviathan brought up the rear. The 3 of us can respond quickly to any threats while your vessel protects the slower cargo haulers." Vale felt Zhao tense beside him but placed a calming hand on her arm. "If that's what the convoy commander believes is best." "Excellent," Threx said, his skin shifting to a satisfied green. "Though I doubt we'll encounter any trouble. The route is well patrolled and any pirates foolish enough to attack would flee at the sight of 3 modern warships." A soft alarm chimed through the station. The holographic display automatically switched to an emergency broadcast. A frantic voice translated into multiple languages simultaneously filled the room. "This is Mining Station Kellimar 7. We are under attack. Multiple hostile vessels. Our defense platforms are failing. Request immediate assistance." The image shifted to show the mining station. Vale counted at least 20 attacking ships, their designs unfamiliar but clearly military grade. Plasma beams carved through the station's shields while fighters swarmed its defense platforms. Threx's skin went pale. "That's impossible. Pirates don't have that kind of firepower." "We need to move now," Vale said, already turning toward the door. "Every minute costs lives." Agreed. Threx's color shifted rapidly through several hues. "All ships, emergency departure, maximum speed to Kellimar." The commanders scattered to their vessels. Vale and Zhao ran through Epsilon's corridors, dodging other personnel responding to the emergency. They reached the Leviathan's docking tube as alarms wailed throughout the station. "All hands, battle stations," Vale commanded as he stepped onto his bridge. "Emergency departure protocols. Prep all weapon systems." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos. Officers called out system statuses while the main screen showed the other warships already departing. The Quellian ship Rapid Strike shot away from the station like a comet, its quantum drives leaving a trail of distorted space. The Star Weaver simply vanished, jumping to faster than light in a flash of crystal light. The Thunderclaw's massive engines roared to life, pushing the Torgan vessel forward with surprising speed. "They're not even waiting for the convoy," Zhao observed. "No, they're not," Vale agreed. "Helm, best sustainable speed to Kellimar. Engineering, I want everything we've got, but keep us below redline. We're no good to anyone if we blow our drives." The Leviathan pulled away from Epsilon with what must have seemed like agonizing slowness to the watching aliens. But Vale didn't care about appearances. He cared about arriving with a ship capable of fighting. "Captain," the communications officer called out. "Message from Commodore Threx. He says they'll engage the attackers and have the situation resolved before we arrive." Vale stared at the tactical display showing the 3 alien warships racing ahead. Their icons moved across the screen at speeds the Leviathan couldn't match. In 36 hours, they would reach Kellimar. The Leviathan would arrive 12 hours later. "Sir," Zhao said quietly, "our long-range sensors are picking up something odd about those attacking ships." Vale moved to the sensor station. The data was limited at this distance, but patterns emerged. "Their formation is too perfect, too organized, for pirates. And look at their energy signatures," Zhao pointed to the readings. "Those are military-grade reactors. This isn't a raid, it's an invasion." Vale returned to his command chair, his mind racing through possibilities. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced warships were racing toward what might be a trap, confident in their technological superiority. They would arrive exhausted from the maximum burn, their crews stressed from the emergency pace. The Leviathan continued its steady acceleration, drives humming with controlled power. In the crew quarters, men and women rested in shifts, maintaining their energy. In the weapons bays, technicians methodically checked every system, loaded every magazine, primed every warhead. "Captain," the navigation officer reported, "we're receiving telemetry from the lead ships. They're making incredible time." On the tactical display, the 3 alien warships had already covered a quarter of the distance to Kellimar. Their energy signatures blazed like stars against the darkness. Vale watched them race ahead, remembering Threx's confident words about modern vessels and primitive human technology. "Maintain course and speed," Vale ordered, "and start running combat simulations. I want every possible scenario modeled by the time we arrive." Zhao moved to stand beside his chair. "You think something's wrong?" Vale watched the racing icons on his screen. "I think our allies are about to learn why humans build ships the way we do. The question is whether they'll survive the lesson." The Leviathan continued its journey through the void, steady and relentless, while somewhere ahead 3 of the galaxy's finest warships raced toward a destiny they couldn't imagine. The strike falls. 35 hours after departure, the 3 alien warships dropped out of their various FTL modes at the edge of the Kellimar system. Captain Vale watched the sensor feeds from the Leviathan's bridge, still 13 hours away, but close enough now for detailed scanning. Commodore Threx's confident voice crackled over the long-range communications. All vessels, we have arrived at Kellamar, beginning tactical assessment. The tactical display updated as the alien ship's sensors swept the area. The mining station still existed, but barely. Its superstructure was torn open in multiple places, atmosphere venting into space. The attacking fleet had repositioned itself around the station like predators guarding their kill. 32 hostile vessels confirmed, Commander Yatari reported. Energy signatures suggest mixed origin. Some appear to be modified civilian craft, others are unknown configuration. Vale leaned forward in his chair. Something was wrong with the sensor readings. The attacking ships were arranged in a perfect, defensive sphere, but gaps in their formation seemed deliberately placed. Commodore Threx to all ships. These pirates have made a fatal mistake staying to plunder. Begin attack pattern Sigma. Show them the power of real warships. The 3 alien vessels accelerated toward the enemy fleet. The Rapid Strike's quantum drives flared as it began its attack run, space bending around its sleek hull. The Starweaver started charging its plasma matrices, the crystalline ship glowing brighter with each passing second. The Thunderclaw's massive particle cannons swiveled toward their targets. The first exchange of fire lit up the void. The Rapid Strike's quantum disruptors lashed out, striking one of the modified freighters. The enemy ship's shields flared and died, its hull beginning to buckle under the assault. The Starweaver released a plasma wave that washed over 3 enemy vessels, their shields flickering under the strain. They're running. Desrock's triumphant roar came over the comm. Look at them scatter. It was true. The attacking fleet was breaking formation, ships peeling away in apparent panic. Some headed for the system's asteroid belt, others toward the outer planets. The 3 alien warships pressed their advantage, pursuing the fleeing enemies. But Vale noticed something the excited commanders missed. The ships weren't fleeing randomly. They were moving in coordinated groups, maintaining specific distances from each other. Captain, Zhao said urgently, I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the asteroid belt. Before Vale could respond, space around the alien warships erupted. Hidden weapons platforms disguised as asteroids opened fire simultaneously. Particle beams, plasma torrents, and gravity weapons struck the 3 warships from multiple angles. The Rapid Strike's quantum shields, designed for frontal assault, couldn't adapt to attacks from 6 directions at once. They collapsed in seconds. The ship's sleek hull, built for speed over durability, began to buckle under the barrage. Shields failing! Threx's panicked voice filled the comm channel. How is this possible? These are military-grade weapons. The Starweaver fared better initially, its crystalline structure refracting some of the energy attacks. But the gravity weapons were its weakness. The ship's delicate lattice began to crack under the tidal forces, pieces of crystal spinning away into the void. Only the Thunderclaw's heavy armor held, but even the Torgan vessel was taking damage. Its particle cannons fired continuously, destroying 2 weapon platforms, but more kept revealing themselves. It's a trap. Yatari's voice was distorted, her ship's communication systems failing. These aren't pirates. They're the transmission. Cut off as the Starweaver's main crystal core shattered, the ship breaking into glittering fragments. Vale turned to his crew. All hands, prepare for combat. Weapons free the moment we're in range. The Leviathan was still hours away, but its sensors recorded everything. The enemy fleet had stopped pretending to flee, turning back to finish the alien warships. The Rapid Strike tried to escape, its quantum drives flaring, but multiple tractor beams locked onto it, holding it in place as enemies pounded its failing shields. Then something unexpected happened. The attackers' weapons stopped firing. A new ship emerged, from behind Kellimar's largest moon, twice the size of any other vessel present. Its design was unlike anything in the galactic database, organic curves mixed with crystalline structures and mechanical components. Unknown vessel is broadcasting, the communications officer reported. The bridge speakers came alive with a harsh mechanical voice. Commodore Threx of the Quellian Navy. Your ships are disabled. Surrender and you will be taken prisoner. Resist, and you will be destroyed. This is Commodore Threx. The reply came, weak but defiant. We are officers of the Galactic Council. Any attack on us is an act of war against. The Galactic Council is weak, the mechanical voice interrupted. Your technology is stagnant, your species soft. We are the Convergence, and we have come to claim what natural selection demands. The strong consume the weak. Vale stood up. Navigation, new course. Take us in below the elliptic plane. Communications, tight beam transmission to our convoy, encoded. Tell them to hold position until we signal. Captain? Zhao questioned. These Convergents have made a classic mistake, Vale said. They've shown their hand too early. Helm, cut drives. We're going ballistic. The Leviathan's engines went silent. To any sensors, the ship would appear to have lost power, drifting helplessly through space. But inside, every weapon system was charging, every torpedo tube was loaded, and every crew member was at their station. 8 hours passed. The Convergence forces secured their prisoners, the battered alien warships held in tractor beams. They began operations on the mining station, clearly intending to use it as a forward base. Their confidence was absolute. They had defeated 3 of the galaxy's most advanced warships without losing a single vessel. They never detected the Leviathan approaching on its ballistic trajectory until it was too late. Fire, Vale commanded. The human warship erupted into violence. Railguns fired tungsten rounds at significant fractions of light speed. Mass drivers launched nuclear warheads that had been considered obsolete by galactic standards. Point defense. Lasers, usually reserved for meteor protection, targeted enemy sensors and communication arrays. The Convergence ships, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond. Their shields, configured for energy weapons, offered little protection against kinetic impacts. Tungsten rounds punched through hull plating like paper. Nuclear explosions, primitive but effective, overwhelmed shields with pure thermal and kinetic energy. Enemy flagship is targeting us, Zhao reported. Evasive pattern Delta, Vale ordered, and deploy the presence. The Leviathan launched dozens of small pods that had been mounted on its hull. Each one contained a simple but effective weapon, ball bearings surrounded by explosive charges. They detonated in space around the enemy formation, creating clouds of high-velocity projectiles. The Convergence ships, built for energy combat, had no defense against the simple physics of mass and velocity. Their shields flickered and failed as thousands of impacts overwhelmed their generators. Their elegant weapons, designed for precision strikes, couldn't track the clouds of debris. The enemy flagship fired its main weapon, a beam of exotic matter that could theoretically disintegrate any known material. It struck the Leviathan's hull, and unstopped. The thick armor, layered with ceramics, metals, and synthetic materials developed through centuries of human warfare, absorbed and dispersed the energy. Return fire all tubes, Vale commanded. 32 torpedoes launched simultaneously, each one following a different trajectory. The Convergence point defense systems, sophisticated as they were, couldn't handle the saturation attack. 24 torpedoes were intercepted. 8 got through. The enemy flagship disappeared in a series of nuclear fireballs, each warhead contributing its portion of devastation. When the radiation cleared, only expanding debris remained. The battle turned into a rout. The Convergence forces, psychologically shattered by the destruction of their flagship and the failure of their superior technology, began to retreat in earnest this time. But the Leviathan, built for endurance, pursued relentlessly. Its crew, rested and ready, maintained maximum combat efficiency while the enemy, exhausted from their earlier battle, made mistakes. 6 hours later, it was over. 18 Convergence ships had been destroyed, 12 had surrendered, and 2 had escaped to carry word of their defeat. The weapon platforms hidden in the asteroids, running on automatic systems, were methodically destroyed by nuclear warheads. Vale stood on his bridge, surveying the aftermath. The rescued alien warships were barely functional, but their crews were alive. The mining station could be repaired. Most importantly, the Convergence had learned a valuable lesson about human warfare. Incoming transmission from Commodore Threx, the communications officer announced. Threx's image appeared on screen. His iridescent skin was pale, one of his 4 eyes covered by a medical patch. Behind him, the damaged bridge of the rapid strike was visible. Captain Vale, Threx began, then paused. When he continued, his tone had changed completely. I owe you an apology, and my life. We underestimated everything. No apology necessary, Commodore, Vale replied. We all have our strengths. Yours is speed and precision. Ours is endurance and firepower. Those weapons, Threx continued, they're so simple, chunks of metal and primitive atomics. But they worked when our advanced systems failed. Vale nodded. Humans have a saying, perfect is the enemy of good enough. Your technology is perfect for the wars you fought. Ours is good enough for any war we might face. Commander Yatari's voice joined the channel, transmitting from an escape pod. The Convergence knew our capabilities perfectly. They designed their traps specifically for our weaknesses. But they didn't know ours, Zhao added, because everyone dismissed us as primitive. Desrock's rumbling voice came through next. Not anymore. I'm recommending to the Torgan Defense Force that we study human combat doctrine. There's wisdom in your approach we've forgotten. Vale looked at his crew, seeing the quiet pride in their faces. The Leviathan had proven itself, but more importantly, it had proven humanity's place among the stars. They might not have the fastest ships or the most elegant weapons, but they had something equally valuable. The hard-earned knowledge of how to fight and win against any odds. Commodore, Vale said, I suggest we escort your ships back to Epsilon for repairs, and perhaps we should discuss integrating our tactical approaches. The Convergence will be back, and when they come, we'll need to work together. Threx's skin shifted to a color Vale had never seen before. Later, he would learn it indicated deep respect. Agreed, Captain. And perhaps you could teach us about these nuclear warheads of yours. They seem quite effective after all. As the battered convoy began its journey home, the Leviathan took point position. No one questioned it now. The slow, heavily armed human warship had earned its place through the oldest and most respected method in the galaxy, victory in battle. The story would spread through the galactic community, carried by traders and diplomats, soldiers and civilians, how the primitive human warship, mocked for its slowness and crude weapons, had saved 3 of the galaxy's most advanced vessels. How when the strike fell, it was human tungsten and human atomics that carried the day. And somewhere in the void, the 2 escaping Convergence ships carried their own message back to their leaders. The humans were not to be underestimated. Their ships might be slow, their weapons might be simple, but they possessed something far more dangerous than advanced technology. They possessed the wisdom of a species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war.